Welcome back to Late Night, everybody. It's been 2 months since we first left the studio, and we have heard some of your criticisms about our attic shows and want you to know that we are taking it to heart. So as of today, there will be no more reference to the copy of The Thornbirds that is on my side table. It's just going to be there, but I'm not going to talk about it. And the number of books is certainly not going to change throughout the segment. Also, I will no longer be mentioning the wasps in my attic, but that's only because we caught the last 2 wasps this morning, and we have trapped them in that door behind me. Now, those are 2 real wasps, and not my sons dressed in homemade wasp costumes who are going to bust out when this segment is over. So if you're sticking around for that kind of adorable content, you are wasting your time, because it is not going to happen. 2 real wasps, not, I repeat, not, but 2 boys in wasp costumes that I basically spent the entire weekend making because I have a lust of my mind. Speaking of lost minds, segue, the president is reeling off fantasies about the coronavirus just going away after 2 West Wing aides tested positive and unemployment soared to its highest level since the Great Depression. But don't worry, he's also trying to distract from the pandemic by obsessing over the Russia investigation. For more on this, it's time for a closer look. It's rarely the case that someone as erratic as Donald Trump is able to boil all the venality, corruption, and sociopathic incompetence of his presidency down into a single tweet, and yet over the weekend, he came pretty close. Although in fairness, he had lots of chances, given that on Sunday alone, he posted 126 tweets and retweets, including over 50 messages before 8:30 a.m. Sounds like it was a great Mother's Day. What did he have for breakfast? Pancakes covered in Adderall and 10,000 Diet Cokes, just like Mom used to make. The president should not have enough time to tweet that much, even on a normal day, let alone during a crisis as nightmarish as this one. It's not reassuring. It's like scrolling through your phone on a flight that's going through turbulence and seeing your pilot dancing on TikTok. On Sunday alone, Trump lashed out at everyone from the media to celebrities to Democrats, retweeted random conspiracy theorists, and tried to fabricate a totally made-up scandal called Obamagate. Even for Trump, this was an especially demented weekend on Twitter, and that's saying a lot for a guy whose tweets, generally speaking, would make more sense written backwards on the door of a hotel room, Shining style. And as the U.S. death toll from the coronavirus climbed to nearly 80,000 with unemployment at its worst since the Great Depression, Trump chose to take time out of his day to tweet about his own golf club and use it as an excuse to both advertise his personal business and parrot his message that the economy is ready to reopen. Trump's golf course in LA announced that they were reopening with a tweet that said, "Game on. We are thrilled to announce the reopening of Trump Golf LA beginning Saturday, May 9th. We look forward to welcoming you back. Book your tee time now." And then Trump retweeted it and wrote, "So great to see our country starting to open up again." Cool. I'm sure the 20 million Americans who lost their job in April are stoked to hit the links. Honey, good news. The unemployment check came. Now I can afford to play 3.5 holes at Trump's golf course. So Trump actually found a way to use a pandemic to advertise his luxury golf resort. Reminds me of that time during the Great Depression when FDR advertised his bindle-making business. "Are you a hobo looking for a sack to carry your can of beans as you ride the rails in search of work? Well, come on down to FDR's House of Bindles. The only thing we have to fear is these crazy low prices." No research went into figuring out if he sounds like that. Anywhere between 1 and 2,000 Americans are dying every day from the coronavirus, and yet, rather than confront that reality, Trump is doing the only thing he knows, and that's lying his way through it. He's trying to dead-eye mind trick Americans into thinking coronavirus will simply go away. On Friday, he told reporters that the coronavirus would soon disappear, even without a vaccine.
This is going to go away without a vaccine. It's going to go away, and we're not going to see it again, hopefully, after a period of time. You may have some flare-ups, and I guess, I would expect that. Sometime in the fall, you'll have flare-ups, maybe. Maybe not, but according to what a lot of people say, you probably will. We'll be able to put them out. You may have some flare-ups next year, but eventually it's going to be gone. It's going to be gone. There are some viruses and flus that came and they went for a vaccine. They never found the vaccine, and they've disappeared. They've never shown up again. They die too, like everything else. They die too.
Holy Your strategy for dealing with coronavirus is eventually everything dies? Are you responding to a pandemic or narrating a Werner Herzog movie? Time is nature's cruelest weapon. The clock is an assassin, silently stalking us to the grave with his sinister laugh. Tick-tock, tick-tock. I guarantee you, Werner is crushing stay at home. No one thinks coronavirus will just go away, let alone without a vaccine. You already tried this bull before the pandemic started, and it didn't work back then either.
The virus. They're working hard. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true. Now, the virus that we're talking about having to do, a lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat, as the heat comes in. Typically, that will go away in April.
Nailed it again, Dr. Science. Not only is the virus still here, it didn't even get warm yet. On that note, off April. What was that? This year of all years. Who told you coronavirus goes away in April? Are you confusing it with March Madness? The madness spreads to basketball courts and college campuses across the country, but don't worry, it goes away in April when either Duke or Villanova beats it. Trump is selling yet another unhinged fantasy to try to coax people out of their homes and back into the economy after 2 West Wing aides tested positive for coronavirus. And the Washington Post reported that all White House staffers received a memo from the White House Management Office on Friday, which encouraged employees to practice maximum telework and to work remotely if at all possible. Well, that's easy for Trump since he's already spent the last 3 years teleworking from his home office on the 18th green at Mar-a-Lago. Every time you see him in the Oval Office, that's just his Zoom background. Think about that. The president is telling people to get back into the workforce while his own White House tells employees to stay home. One day he's going to call a press conference to reassure us that murder hornets are fake news while a dozen of them carry him back to their nest. You live with us now, Donald. And the mention of the murder hornets get you to thinking that my kids are in that door back there dressed like wasps, because they're not. And they're not going to just barge out at the end of this closure. I'll prove it. I'll prove they're not there. Who wants ice cream? They're not there, guys. They're not there. And by the way, you'll never guess how Trump reacted to the news that one of his staffers had tested positive for the virus he failed to contain. After learning that one of his valets was infected, Trump became lava-level mad at his staff and said he doesn't feel it's doing all it can to protect him. All right, first of all, look at him. He's always lava-level something. If he's not lava-level mad, he's lava-level happy, or more often than not, lava-level indifferent. Second, Trump is actually upset that the people who are supposed to protect him are doing a good job. Oh, the irony. If we were living in a story or a fable, this would be the moment where the mean old miser finally has a change of heart and throws money at some kid to go buy a goose for the festival or something. But this is Donald Trump. There's no change of heart. There's no learning curve. If this was a choose your own adventure story, the bottom of every page would say, just go to the next page. The president is just profoundly incapable of thinking about anyone other than himself. That much has been clear from day one of this crisis, and it was on full display when he called in for his latest teletherapy session with the Fox and Friends on Friday. This was the day the government announced truly catastrophic unemployment numbers, and the coronavirus death toll climbed toward 80,000. And yet the president rambled for 20 minutes about God knows what before he even talked about coronavirus, and that was only because the Fox and Friends finally asked him about it.
Mr. President, good morning to you.
Good morning. Hi, Steve. They knew it was just a total hoax. It was a made-up story, a disgrace to our nation. These are dirty politicians and dirty cops. So Schiff is a crooked politician, crooked as can be, probably one of the worst I've ever seen. I've seen some beauties. It was like they just sat there. They sat in an office, hello, goodbye. That would be a meeting. Hello, a goodbye. If you look at Mueller, that was purely corrupt. And can you imagine with all the corruption having to do with Mueller? You don't have Clapper and Brennan, who's sleaze, and a guy like Comey, who's a sick man. I mean, Comey's a sick man. He's just a stupid guy. He's dumb as a rock, and he's a sick guy. There's something wrong with him. We've rebuilt our military. This is not what they love to hear. Jeff Sessions was a disaster. Well, Kislyak had dinner with Nancy Pelosi and Schumer. All these guys, everybody in Washington knew Kislyak. But I learned a lot from Richard Nixon. Don't fire people. I learned a lot. I study history. If you did a poll there, I'd do very well in the FBI. But the top was crooked. They were dirty cops.
Someone get Grandpa off the phone. Every time Trump calls in for one of these, we can only see the Fox and Friends sitting there blinking like a family who accidentally bought tickets to the wrong movie. Does this whole thing have subtitles? Is this a subtitle movie? Because I don't. Where's Vin Diesel? I thought this was Vin Diesel. They're like a family of tourists at Art Basel staring at a banana duct tape to the wall. Is it supposed to represent life? No, I think the message is that bananas
Die too, like everything else.
Trump is just deeply, clinically incapable of summoning even the bare minimum amount of empathy required for the job. For example, in that same interview, he was also asked if he had a message for America's mothers on Mother's Day. Now, This was an especially difficult Mother's Day for so many. Americans separated from loved ones and struggling amid a historic unemployment crisis and public health emergency, and yet the president reeled off an answer so deranged it's actually hard to fully appreciate just by listening. So instead of playing his answer, we're going to read the full transcript. First, here's the question.
Mr. President, this Sunday is Mother's Day. What are your plans? What are you going to do for Melania? And do you have a message for all the moms that are watching this morning?
Easy, right? That should be a gimme. Answering that question is like getting 200 points for writing your name on the SATs. For an impeached, historically unpopular president in the midst of a catastrophic public health crisis and soaring unemployment, getting a softball lobbed at you like that is like going 10,000 points in the red on Jeopardy and getting the category food that comes in buckets. Finally, this is my wheelhouse. All right, this is a question any president or any mammal should be able to knock out of the park. Even a dolphin could whistle and click their way through this one. Instead, our drooling potato-brained Caligula had this to say in response to a question about Mother's Day. And just for some ambiance, let's throw a frame around the screen while I read this. Here it is. Well, we'll be together. I'm going to Camp David meeting, a big meeting, with the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And Camp David is this very special place that nobody ever gets to see. But it's a great work environment, and we're going to have meetings on different things. And our military has never looked better. It's never been better. We've never had the kind of equipment that we have now. And you know, we had planes that were 50 years old and more. Fighter jets. Now we have the best in the world. The F-35 and the F-18. And you know, what we have is incredible. The equipment and the people we have are great. But you know, they have to have equipment. And we've spent $1.5 trillion. Really more than that. And we've totally rebuilt our military, which you have to do. You know, I'm a very budget conscious person. It's what you have to do. The nice thing, it was all built in the USA and plenty of equipment coming. A lot of this equipment is coming. So it's very important that we have the best military and we have our military has never been in condition like it is now and soon will be. Wow. I'm pretty sure even a F-35 pilot can write his mom a card without mentioning the F-35. Seriously, that answer was more revealing than a CAT scan. Based on that answer alone, a doctor could diagnose like 5 different strokes. Sometimes I like to imagine what would happen if Trump were, let's say, one of the 100 people interviewed for an episode of Family Feud. Like if the category was things you do for your wife on Mother's Day, both teams would strike out. And then the host would say, top 5 answers were brunch, a card, flowers, chocolates, fighter jets, the jets are coming, Joint Chiefs, the military, the greatest military you've ever seen, equipment, we have so much equipment, the equipment is coming, military, the best military, the military, I love the military. We're currently in the middle of a deadly pandemic that has been made worse by the sociopathic incompetence of an impeached president who is fundamentally incapable of grasping the responsibilities of his office. And now he's trying to distract from that by trying to undo the Russia investigation. Last week, his attorney general and mafia-themed bobblehead William Barr announced that in an unprecedented move, the Justice Department would withdraw charges against Michael Flynn, Trump's first national security advisor, who twice pled guilty in court to lying about his contacts with Russia's ambassador to the U.S.
Attorney General William Barr's DOJ is dropping charges against the president's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn. Now, this comes after Flynn pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI about conversations he had with the Russian ambassador and cooperating with investigators. And it comes on the same day that one of the lead DOJ prosecutors trying Flynn took his name off the case. And we've seen this before. It's something we saw happen in the case of another Trump ally who also got favorable treatment from the department, Roger Stone. When that time, the DOJ stepped in and reduced his sentencing recommendations against the recommendations of their own line prosecutors.
The Department of Justice is basically just an arm of the Trump campaign now. The Trump campaign store is going to start selling pardons, commutations, and sentence reductions alongside these very real items: MAGA pet leash, MAGA dog collar, and USA camo dog bandana. By the way, if you see a dog in MAGA pet leash, call the ASPCA. Sarah McLachlan will come get the dog and it will be taken away in the arms of an angel. Just the best. Like, this part of the acoustics just makes, I think, my voice come alive in a way you don't get in the studio. Trump always wanted a loyal attorney general, and now he's got one in Bill Barr. The president is rage tweeting about exacting revenge against his political enemies as a pandemic craters the economy and touches his own White House. And on top of everything else, he's incapable of summoning even the bare minimum level of empathy for the people affected by the crisis. We don't need a test to tell us he's a
sick guy. There's something wrong with him.
This has been a oh no. Oh, the wasps are out. Oh, the thing we wanted to happen least happened. These are real wasps. These are not children in wasp costume. Oh no. Oh no, he's stinging me. Oh God, this is a nightmare. Oh, everything has gone from bad to worst. Oh no. Oh no. Who are you? Are you a wasp?
I fly away. Hey, I can fly away.
This has been a closer look. Can you say this has been a closer look? What? City Harvest needs your help now more than ever. New Yorkers who have never imagined asking for help are now turning to them to keep food on their tables. If you're watching this online, you can hit the donate button. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We love you.